So the pyloric pump is that emptying action, right? The peristaltic waves push the material up against the pylorus. Pylorus opens and we get a little controlled emptying. So a lot of things affect stomach emptying. In fact, as you're studying, I recommend you make a kind of list, right? Because there's going to be a number of things. The more food there is in the stomach, the faster the emptying occurs. Okay, that's a direct effect because when the stomach is distended, peristalsis happens more rapidly. Gastrin's one of our hormones. It's released from the stomach and the duodenum or duodenum, and it promotes gastric emptying. So, in other words, it's going to increase the amount of time that the pylorus is open. Now, a vocabulary word, chyme, is what's released from the stomach. You wouldn't want to call it food because you'd never want to eat it, right? It started as food, but you took food and you mixed it all up. You added gastric secretions. You added the stuff from the mouth. You added mucus from the stomach. All of those things together are going to make chyme. Now, chyme is going to vary according to what we're eating, right? So you can eat a really fatty meal and have really fatty chyme. You can have a really carbohydrate-rich chyme. So it's going to vary tremendously. What's in the chyme is going to be detected by the duodenum, and that's going to result in hormone release that's going to affect the rest of the GI tract. Okay, so the chyme gets analyzed essentially, and the digestion plan is tailored to what was in the food that we ate. Chyme also changes as we go from stomach to anus in terms of its characteristic, right? Because chyme is what's being digested. So it's literally being changed by the secretions of the gut. Okay, so by the time chyme reaches the anus, we call it feces because it's had all of its nutrients removed, right? Okay. So stomach emptying is primarily controlled through inhibition. In other words, the pylorus stays closed until it's inhibited, and that opens it and allows materials to come through. Now, the reason for that is very simple. Stomach acid is brutal, right? It's hydrochloric acid. It can have a pH as low as 3. And the intestine has very little protection against acid. The stomach has a lot of protection. It has a really thick mucus coat. Its cells are adapted for a high acid environment. Long story short, we have to neutralize the acid from the stomach before that material can go out into the rest of the small intestine. It's the duodenum that is the police of this process. The actual neutralization comes from the pancreas. The pancreas produces a bicarbonate solution, which if you take bicarbonate and you add it to hydrochloric acid, you get water and CO2, right? So it neutralizes that acid. As long as the acid is being completely neutralized, then stomach emptying continues. If the material in the duodenum has too much acid or too much protein, then stomach emptying is inhibited until there's more processing that happens. So essentially, I like to think of the duodenum as kind of the control center of digestion because it has the smartest cells that do the most complex things in terms of controlling the rest of the system. So some of the things that inhibit gastric emptying: distension. In other words, the duodenum has more material to deal with than it can at the moment. So it needs the stomach to hold on until it finishes what it's doing. Irritation present, right? Because if we have irritation in the duodenum, it means that neutralization isn't having a chance to happen, right? So we need to slow things down to make that occur. If the chyme is very acidic entering the duodenum, we're going to slow down emptying to allow more time for neutralization to occur, right? For the bicarbonate solution to react. If the chyme has a high osmolality or osmolarity, Doesn't really matter, okay? In other words, if there's a lot of particulates, if there's a lot of molecules, then the body is going to need some time to correct that osmolarity, or else we're going to get fluid shifts, right? So stomach emptying is slowed until the osmolarity can be diluted by water, and then the duodenum will ask for more. And then presence of breakdown products of protein and fat. Fat takes a long time to digest, all right? So whenever the duodenum detects fat in the chyme, it's going to slow everything down, right? That's the cholecystokinin effect. Protein, while it doesn't take as long to digest as fats do, protein is relatively slow to digest. So when we have protein and fat in the chyme, we're going to slow things down, okay, to allow for additional time for the enzymes to work. All right, so the hormonal players here, cholecystokinin, CCK is what we call that, right? Cholecystokinin is CCK. It's released from the duodenum in response to the presence of fats. What does it do? It inhibits stomach emptying. So it slows the small intestinal transit down so that the lipases, which take time to work, have a chance to do their digestion. All right? We have a whole talk after this next exam about metabolism and energetics. And it's in that section is where we're going to talk about the chemistry of digestion. I know you're all very excited about that, right? But the chemistry of digestion comes after this exam in the next one. But I will explain more why fats take time then, all right, and some of our tricks for increasing the speed. For now, I just want you to know fats take time to digest, so cholecystokinin slows the gut down so that can occur. Yes?
Is this what they do in a HIDA scan? Or see, like a nuke med?
I don't know how they do those. I know what the results mean, but I don't know how they do them.
That's okay.
You got me on that one. CCK, all right, GIP, gastric inhibitory peptide, also released from the proximal small intestine, okay, not duodenum, but close, in response to fat again, to a lesser extent carbohydrate. There again, responses to inhibit emptying. It's another slow things down.